Hey everyone, welcome to Femme Fables. Megan here, and I have Deidra with me for this episode. So this is our 1-year anniversary episode of the podcast.
Small round of applause.
Yes. Clap, clap, clap. Golf claps. So I just wanted to thank everybody who hosted with me.
Yeah.
Deidra started this journey with me and was part of a lot of the episodes, so we thought I'd have her on to do the anniversary one. And I just want to thank everybody, friends, family who supported me. It's funny when you put yourself out there, you kind of realize who's in your corner and who is not in your corner.
Yeah, you kind of experienced a bit of like a shift.
I did. I definitely found support in people I never thought I would, and didn't have support from the people I absolutely thought I would. So it was a very interesting journey, but also it was very therapeutic for me. I was going through a breakup. I was like the Taylor Swift of podcasts. Like, my episodes were driven by...
We're writing all of your names down.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, just thank you everyone for support on YouTube, listening on the podcast. The people who've commented and written to me directly, which, you know, I haven't talked about too much, but it's, you know, one of the goals of this was to try to help people who are going through the same thing. So, you know, even helping one person to me is worth it, putting myself out there and being vulnerable, and you coming on and being vulnerable and talking about your stuff. So
yeah, I said a lot of weird shit I really wasn't prepared to say, but I did, and it was good because it made me feel better about saying it.
People loved you though. They were like, "Where's Deidra?" when I didn't have you on for a little while.
They thought you murdered me.
Yeah. So thank you again. We thought it would be a good idea just to cover the episodes we've done and things that we've learned along the way this year.
I still think about the girl that pissed in the car. Was it the car or the couch?
Oh, well, both. Well, the girl squirted on the couch.
I think
but
about
then
that
we had
a
the
lot.
debate, and then it's like that meme. It's like, I think about that a lot.
I think about her. I don't even know her, but I think about her all the time.
The girl who peed on the couch. That was on our second episode, Scary Dating Stories.
The guy who whipped his feet back and...
Oh, wanted me to lick his butt.
Is this where we were going with this?
Yeah. We went from helping people to licking buttholes. That's what we do here on this podcast. No, but...
What stands out the most for you? Any story that just killed you? What was the hardest one to tell?
The one I did on healing and letting go is probably the hardest one. And I think talking about when I first discovered the guy that I had the breakup with dating somebody else.
Yeah.
That was the rebound relationship and rejection, which that's got like 1,700 views now. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
And got a ton of comments.
Amazing.
From people.
See?
Yeah. So it's funny because that episode was done so long ago, so it's interesting how something like an algorithm will start.
Yeah, people
People
discover
have gotten a lot of rejection lately.
They do.
Google, they're searching for it on YouTube.
All of us.
But like I said, a lot of it was therapeutic for me. I learned a lot about myself. Attachment styles, that was huge for me.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I'm still thinking about that.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of my friends took that and were
Really?
like, "Oh my God, I'm secure," or "I'm anxious," or
So happy for you.
Amber's disorganized.
Really?
Yeah, as well. So
My friend Becky, who's here, is disorganized like me, so we were like, of course.
that's why we're besties.
That's why we're besties.
But so I wrote down some sayings. I just combined sayings and things together.
I know what you meant though.
Yeah.
We could just...
And I left the book in the car, but I can think about.
Let's improvise.
Yeah. So one of them was, loving someone harder won't make them love you more.
No.
So I feel like I tried to cling on to something that was escaping me.
Yeah.
But if that person doesn't have the same love or feelings for you, no matter how you claw and try, it's just never gonna come of anything. And that was a real hard pill to swallow.
No matter how much you love, it won't make them love you the same
Right.
way if they're not capable.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
That's really hard.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel helpless.
And what was the other one that was good? It's a saying, but it was, you can be the perfect person and still arrive at the wrong address. Because you're like, I have so much to offer. Why, you know what I mean? You could be the perfect everything for someone, but if they're not the person for you, you're showing up it's the wrong address.
Wrong tree.
You're not at the right address. So it's tough when you're going through something like that in a pandemic. You can't go out like you usually do. I was talking to somebody about this at dinner the other day. You can't go out like you normally would to like distract yourself. You're just sitting with your shit at home.
Yeah.
Alone with your dog.
That's the hardest thing to do, and so many people had to do it.
Yeah. In general, not just through breakups, but just like, fuck.
I think I realized through the podcast that I'm very opinionated and vocal about my opinions, but I think that sometimes I felt, no.
You're opinionated?
I'm very opinionated, but like I'm very vocal and very much like an arrow. And I just think that sometimes I thought and felt that in hindsight, like you're kind of like a little bit like, might be a little bit too rigid sometimes in my beliefs.
You don't think you're flexible?
I think I'm inflexible to a degree, which I read this thing through the attachment style show that like those who believe that people are not capable of change suffer more in disappointment when you have a failure, because they think that that failure represents some aspect of their value. And I was like, it was one of those like, do I do that? Because I sometimes am pretty inflexible when I think that like people were changed.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, I didn't believe that people actually changed. I think I kind of learned through talking with you guys and you, Megan, that like maybe people can change, you know? You and I've changed this year.
I mean, I changed tremendously. Like, I think you are who you are at the core, but I think you can change your behaviors to things. Like, I think I've learned a lot about how I react based on my anxious attachment versus learning how to self-soothe, so I'm not reacting and relying on this person responding to me to soothe me. I need to self-soothe myself. Like, those things. Like, okay, now I know going to my next relationship, these things. I know my triggers. I know my childhood wounds that
you
have
won't leave
not
with
been
that
healed. Right. You know,
Yeah.
I learned that and got this exposed all of my insecurities. Like, going through that breakup and the pandemic, doing the podcast. Yeah.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Is hard. And that's where I think, like, I don't think people, I've heard people like, I'm going to do a podcast, it'd be so fun, blah, 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 blah. Like, if it's only that easy, you know, to have content that people want to continue to listen to, and being vulnerable and telling your story, you know, is hard and a lot. I wish people recognize that a little bit more. Like, damn, like,
it's fucking hard.
That's hard. And
it's revealing.
Yeah.
And you're basically publicly healing.
Yeah, and that's basically what I did.
That's a fucking crazy way to do that. That's a crazy way to do that. Just to be like, all right, I'm going to take all my shit off. I'm going to stand right here and I'm going to sit with it in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did I almost break down crying while we were talking? Like, you know, because I was still going through it. And then, you know, this person comes in and out of my life and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about, can you be friends with your ex if they come back around or whatever?
And it really goes to show that healing isn't like that, isn't so quick. It's stages.
And you can backtrack, and that's the thing. I backtracked within the last week because something happened, and here I find myself like going through a little bit of the same motions that I did early on, which was a year and 3 months ago when this started. So,
are you more patient with yourself now in that healing, like backtracking?
Ooh, and that's one of the things. So there's two things that you mentioned there. The first is, which I want to touch on real quick because I think it's important. Grieving is not linear, which we've talked about before. No. It's a little circle that we keep looping around till we get out of the circle. And then be kind to yourself. I think I'm hard on myself.
Yeah. I should be better than this. I should.
Or I shouldn't have done that. Like, so for example, when he reached back out to me, I should have just shut it down. Instead, I tried to be a kind, bigger person, and I still got shit on. So I could sit here and be hard on myself and be like, damn it, Megan, like, why'd you do that? You're stupid, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? No, I'm a good fucking person.
I like that about me.
He knows that.
Yeah.
Which is why he knows he can come back, because I'm never going to, you know, which that's probably going to change. But that part of it, because I'm sure he'll reach out again at some point. But, you know, not beating myself up, you know. Hey, I'm always going to be the good person, and what you do with it, if you want to shit on it, that's on you, buddy, and that's your fucking karma.
Hell yeah.
And you're going to go through life dealing with that, not me. So that was, I think I'm a little bit easier on myself, but probably not as much still as I should be.
You will be.
Yeah, I'll get there.
You're on there.
Yeah.
You're going on that journey.
What was the other thing? So yeah, grief was huge, dealing with that.
I think you're more comfortable with yourself in these spaces too, because it's so confusing to look at yourself and say like, I'm grieving, I'm going through this, other people are going through this, and you were seeking answers and all these people giving their stories as well along with you, and it helps you discover information and create this big world. I think it did help a lot of people.
I hope so. I mean, that was the goal of this. So, God, what was the other thing I was going to say? Grief.
Being kind to yourself.
Being kind to yourself.
That we change.
Oh, changing. Well, yeah, changing behaviors. Like, now I recognize where I kind of went wrong and things I could have done better. Like, you know, because I'm not going to totally say, like, oh, shit on this guy, like, whatever. Like, he had his things, I had my things, but, what else?
You said he's going to come back around.
I don't know, that's just a pattern.
Yeah.
At this point.
I can't remember.
Unless he's listening and he's like, fuck you, I'm not coming back around.
I mean,
just because you said it.
He will. They all do. Because they're patterns, you know? They do that. They wait long enough, they've forgotten the past, and they come back around. It's just is what it is. But I mean, the podcast has been here for a year. What other things throughout the year were interesting? Any points in the podcast that you thought, like, not so sure that the direction of it is going the way I want it to go?
So, the podcast actually took quite a different turn than what I originally started. I originally wanted to write a book about dating and talk about my funny dating stories, right? So, in the beginning, it was very...
funny,
raw and X-rated. I actually think I removed one of them from YouTube.
Really?
Because, yes, I think the red flag dick pic one I removed with Kim. Like, that one was very sexually forward, which, if you look at my intro to the channel, I talk about, like, also one of the reasons why I wanted to do it was because I don't think women should suppress their sexuality, and we're raised to do that, so I wanted to kind of push the limit and cross the boundary of what we talk about.
We did that. We talked about a lot of weird shit.
Yeah. So we had a fetish episode, you know, all that stuff. But then it kind of took that turn of the healing, the grieving, okay.
The psychological aspect.
Right. And then let's just move it to, like, just general, like, human. Like, I did the whole Pride series, which I thought was awesome. Like,
and you just were talking to your last, the friend you had just on?
the black gay perspective. Because that's a different layer of being gay and a black male and young. You know what I mean? And navigating that world. So yeah, it kind of took a total turn because I stopped dating. So I was like, what the hell am I going to talk about? Like, I've dated a lot, but now I'm running out of stuff. And it was just like, I wanted it to be bigger than just that and more about having content that can touch multiple people in different ways.
Yeah.
I've gotten comments on the Pride series. The one with Nick has like 3,300 views.
Amazing.
And people commented, like, thank you. This guy commented, actually, I sent it to Nick and Anthony, and said, you know, when I was a gay kid in the 90s, we didn't talk about these things. Yeah. He's like, so I'm so happy to see young guys, like, just being, like, how people can be so much more open now about being gay or what have you. So, you know, that was that series was fun because it was just interesting hearing people's
perspective from dating
and coming out, how that impacted their relationships with their families and things like that. Yeah. Some were super supportive, some weren't. So yeah, it totally took a different turn than what I had anticipated because I'm like, okay, I don't want it just to be about dating.
Or just about...
I'm like, you know, putting myself in this little tiny box, right, that I got to continue to do. And I want things to be about dating because I think that's important too because that's what's going on in my life, but, you know, there's other things too.
There's more dialogue. Like, there's more conversation.
Yeah. Sharice's story about betrayal, like, that was crazy. Like, I had a whole nother family, but those things happen. Like, how do you deal with it? How do you overcome that, you know?
Yeah, because they think when you do go through things like that, because I've been through a million things, and they think that, oh, well, that's over now, and you move forward, and it doesn't work like that. Healing isn't like that.
Ooh, and that was another thing I was talking to somebody about, that I think when something tragic happens in your life, I don't think you forget about it. I think you carry it with you, and you learn how to carry it without it impacting your everyday.
It changes who you are.
Yeah.
It's part of you, and you can't take it away.
Like, if your spouse passes away, which one of our coworkers passed.
Yeah.
And his wife is pregnant. They have 3 children, 4th on the way.
Someone we worked with or someone you working with?
I worked with him in Tennessee. And passed away suddenly in his sleep.
Wow.
So she commented on Facebook and said something to the effect of, you know, when is it going to end? Like, when am I not going to be grieving? And that's when I was talking to my other friend about it. And I was like, you don't get over the love of your life dying.
No.
At the age of 30, he's my age, 37 years old. Like, you just carry it with you forever. And
if Jeremy died, I can't even imagine. Like, I would never get over that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I may not live in a
but you
huddled
carry
ball of pain my whole life, but it would suck.
Yeah, that you carry that lost in your heart with you. You just move forward with it. And that's
or
what
trauma. That's what we've learned. I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that learning, and we talked about trauma so much, and I've been
We did
thinking about it so much, my own trauma and my own access to it and what it is. And I just kind of recognized in the last week or so that sometimes revisiting that trauma creates more trauma. So I just had this recognition about how, and I was speaking to a few friends of mine about how, on the topic of getting over things and revisiting all of these things, right? Like journaling is a traumatizing experience for me, so I stopped journaling. Therapy is a traumatizing experience for me because I'm revisiting things I don't need to. How do you get past something when you're always revisiting it? So finding other ways to heal, like acknowledging something, saying goodbye to it, forgiving it, which we'll get into.
That's going to be the next episode.
Have a chat.
Yeah.
But I recognized all this through our conversations.
Yeah.
It kind of triggered thoughts in me that I would later on sit with myself and think about.
What's funny you say that, because when I was talking, we're doing this year anniversary. There have been multiple times, I'm going to be honest, I wanted to quit the podcast. I'm like, why am I doing this? Nobody's supporting it. I post a video on YouTube or Facebook, nobody likes it. And I know that's stupid, but
it's
when
hard.
you're putting your own personal stuff out there and nobody's acknowledging
It's like
it,
a child
it's
that you
like
had. I know.
art, right? Like, or a photo. And if you posted a photo and not want,
It sucks.
your ego hurts a little bit, right?
Totally.
So, not that I think I have these great important things to say, but I think
You want people to care about something you care about.
Right. And I think there is valuable content within it, but one of my friends was like, maybe you need to take a break because you're reliving your breakup over and over again on your podcast. How are you going to move forward when you're constantly talking about it? So I'm like, okay, I want to get over it. I want to help people, so I got to talk about it. But I don't want to keep thinking about it, but I keep talking about it. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
And you probably thought talking about it would help you move past it faster. That didn't happen. We just went deeper into the whys, which isn't about him. He's become like an entity.
Yeah, he is. He's like, is that like, he's just
some shadow man of like an example of
He's
some
a shadow
dickhead
man.
out there that caused a problem. Like if you go like behind door number 1 and there's like literally a shadow person right there, that's him. He's just become an entity.
I haven't laid eyes on the man in a year and 3 months. Like, you know what I mean? Who really is just an entity that we talk about.
Yeah. He represents so much more than just whatever person he is.
Yeah.
It's the experience, and he could be anybody in any one of our lives, challenges that we've faced.
Yeah.
I thought about him in that way. I'm like, he's just become something, like some like thing, like.
The only thing I can say is I wouldn't have had any of these things to talk about if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So there's the silver lining. Like, I'm not going to thank him because he can fucking rot in hell. No, I'm just kidding.
Fun fact.
Talk about forgiveness.
I just found this out, but Freddy Krueger, the writer for that, was it Wes Craven? Wrote that?
I think it was, yeah.
That he named that over his childhood bully.
Really?
So that story would not even have existed, and there was a boy out there named Freddy Krueger that he named Freddy Krueger after his childhood bully.
I wonder if that bully was like, damn, I'm a dick. Like,
but that wouldn't have happened.
yeah. No, and that I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have talked about rebounds and rejection and helped people, you know what I mean? Go like, because you think, why me?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I good enough for that person to stay? And now they're frolicking with this new person just 2 months later. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know? Some people decide to work on their healing and some people don't. And they just put a Band-Aid on it with somebody else. So.
And then they will circle the drain and you won't. Because you haven't. You've grown quite a bit this whole time I've known you.
Thank you. I think I have. I think I've become more vulnerable, less harsh, a little softer.
Because you've been through shit.
Yeah. Like, I remember when the guy reached back out, he's like, he said something like, I miss your abrasive personality. It was something which the word meant rude. And I'm like, I actually think I'm a very respectful, not rude person.
He said, I miss your rude personality, basically.
It was, yeah.
Sorry.
I forgot what word he used.
Oh my
God. I was like,
God.
is he trying to get like a backhanded compliment to me right now? To like,
No, it was probably a compliment. He probably liked that section of your personality.
I don't think I'm rude though. I think I'm direct.
Well, that's how you
people,
took it.
Yeah. I could see how people would think that's rude.
Like me being opinionated is the same thing. Like you say what you're thinking and you say it directly, and people could be offended by that.
And I'm also very aggressive. Like, I am not a passive aggressive person.
You're not aggressive. I think you're assertive.
Okay, that's a better word. Assertive. Like, I let it be known.
You have leadership skills. But yeah, that's rude. Like, be like, we're rude, or you're aggressive.
It was abrasive or something like that.
I missed your abrasive.
Your abrasive take on things or something like that.
Yell at me, mommy.
Are
we starting a new episode right now about that?
Oh, like that's a whole guys with mommy issues. Like that's a different.
That's every male because they're a bio female.
Yeah.
We all have mommy issues. All of us have mommy issues.
We all have some sort of issues, whether they're mommy, daddy,
year in review,
brother, sister.
Man, there were some fun moments. There was some like really funny stuff that like
Eric was fun to have on to talk about like friends with benefits and just like being a comedian in that world.
I liked that episode a lot. I still talk to Eric and he's doing shows up in New York still.
I see him liking all your stuff. Like he's like
buddies now.
Super supportive.
I send very
I try to send his
quippy insults in his direction because I feel like he'll appreciate that.
He does. Yes, he absolutely does appreciate that. That was a good one.
Have you done, maybe follow-up episodes would be fun.
With people
that
have been on?
Mm-hmm. Where are they now?
Like, where are they now? I was thinking about that, but I was like, oh, I can't fit that in probably with the holidays coming up. But, God, there was something else that I had written down, and I wish I brought my book with me. Ooh, this one stings. Don't allow someone to show you twice that they don't want you.
Yeah, that's gross.
But it hit home because I've allowed that to happen. I've allowed somebody to come back and kind of treat me as a throwaway.
Reject you.
Yeah, like I'm going to reject you again, and you're going to go through this again because I'm an asshole. But yeah,
you're just an optimist.
But that's the thing is that toxic people are attracted to those empaths and the ones that see the good in everybody. That's why
it's a wellspring.
They have friends still, because they're friends with people who are like, oh, they didn't mean it. Oh, everybody has good inside. No,
maybe they were having a bad day.
Some people are just fucking evil. Like
some people are just selfish. They're just looking for the next person to put it in.
Yeah, that's true.
Their emotions or their
dick. I totally went.
Put it in.
I totally went that way.
That was like a choose your own adventure.
So that hit home a lot. And don't ever beg somebody for the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Which I felt like
I've done that.
I was just begging for a response or some respect, and it's like
it makes me feel gross because we've all done that. We've all begged someone for the bare minimum, and then you're just
someone
like,
we loved and trusted and respected at some point, and they're treating you like crap, and you're like, but why? Like, why are you doing this to me? I was something special to you before. Now I'm nothing.
I think one of the grossest things I ever had to realize was me being really like, when someone does something very minutely considerate in your direction and you have been so used to receiving nothing that you value that bare minimum human respect level as something worthy of like applause. I did that a lot in my life because of the trajectory of my existence, but like I truly did do that a lot. That was embarrassing to realize. So
and I'm still kind of going through it a little bit, but like you cling to that little tiny bit because you're craving this person's validation or whatever so much that you're like, and all you do is hang on to that one tiny bit and you're forgetting, and I find myself doing that. I romanticize the good moments and I forget when he said we'd meet up for dinner and never responded to me. He told me he was coming over to my house for dinner. He never showed up and then never responded to my messages. You know what I mean? It's like
something just occurs to me.
Those moments.
You have a daughter at some point. Mm-hmm. What do you say to her? She's going through all this stuff that you've been going through.
I hope you're a lesbian. No, I'm just kidding.
It probably doesn't. It's still problems.
I know. I'm just kidding.
My
total
friend,
joke, please.
One of my best friends, who is a lesbian, was like, "It's not easier." Just kidding.
No, Maureen on my show was like, it's harder because women are now you got two really emotional people, but not that all women are emotional. Sorry. We're joking here. Please don't. Please don't raid my YouTube.
But I thought about that. Like, you raise a daughter and you're trying to tell them, I have 3 daughters, but 2 that I'm raising from like in the home. But like, one of our daughters is already grown. So like you're raising 2 daughters and they go through these things with boys or heartache. What do you teach them?
So what I think is important, and I think you've heard me say this, I think your role is important, but I think Jeremy's role is probably
He's the example
right
of what a man is.
Right, and how he treats you
Oh,
is
absolutely.
what they're seeing, right? And then how he treats them is what they're, you know what I mean? If he's like,
We just had our anniversary. It's our
I know,
four year.
so cute, congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
saw.
The girls wrote letters to us that were saying how they're so happy that we're together because they're blended. They have different other parents.
Right, they're
step sisters.
Yeah.
And they're as close as sisters could be, or best friends probably, because sisters fight. They're like best friends.
Yeah.
So they wrote letters to us like saying what great examples we are to them and how we absolutely adore each other and how grateful they are for that and how crazy it is to have a 9 and 10-year-old, now 10 and 11-year-old, do that on their own.
That's awesome.
And that's what you're saying, and I believe that fully. Yeah, showing your kids the example of what a good relationship is really ultimately, like, because they're going to grow up and say that's how it should be. Now, I grew up with a different example. Most people grew up with a different example, and that fucks us up, man.
100%. And yeah, and Shane and I were talking about this on the last episode, how I think your kids' age when they start dating and they like kids in their 20s or whatever, they say they don't really know how to date anymore. And like teaching kids, like, okay, you have a son, right?
Yeah.
If you go on a date with a girl or whatever, whoever girl or whatever they're into, right? When they figure it out, you know, ask questions, be present, don't be on your phone. You know what I mean? Like all these things that I don't know if parents talk to
My
their
son
kids
Mason
about these things.
had a girlfriend. I think it was in the beginning or the end of last year. So he was like 12, and she was older than him.
Okay.
So it was like his first girlfriend. Nothing serious.
Yeah.
Nothing at all serious. Like, and obviously they're not together anymore. They're a 12 and 13-year-old relationship. But the whole time he was in this relationship with her, he never called her, ever. Like, I'm talking like for weeks.
It's all text and stuff?
No, he wouldn't even text her. He would just see her at school. And I was like, I'm sure she got sick of that, and she ended up breaking up with him. Probably for more, you know, they're children.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Yeah. It's not like grown-up stuff. But he never called her, and I had to go to him. I'm like, she might want to hear from you, dude. Like, you might want to reach out. And he was like, oh, do you think so? Like, so going to what you're saying, like, he had no idea that he might call her.
See, and I think
he had no idea. Let's say he went on and we never had that conversation, and he's an 18, 19, 20-year-old, and he's like, what, I'm supposed to call her?
Right, all these women breaking up with me, like
I gotta check in and say hi. Like, I was like, that's such a weird mindset.
Yeah.
Because everyone's different, you know?
And
he didn't consider it.
I was talking to Shane, and I was telling this girl I used to work with at the company we worked at together, she should not be named, but her son, she would have him take her on dates so that he learned, like, you open the door for the lady, you open my car door.
Be respectful.
Yeah, like, and I just thought that was such a great idea. I was like, and I think, you know, daddy and daughter should have dates, and he should show her how it needs to be treated, and so she doesn't expect anything less. There's a funny meme that's like, take your kids on trips so your daughter's not impressed by your dusty ass son taking her to Miami or some shit, like something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, set the bar high for your kids so they're not like accepting the bare minimum from people. You know what I mean?
And I think about that for sons too. Like, they really all need that kind of one-on-one attention. I think that's a great idea for dads to like take their daughters out.
Open the door for her, like compliment her, be like, oh my god, honey, you look so cute today. Like, that should be like, I hope that when I find my life partner, that's, you know, something that's important to them. Like, obviously it would have to, but for myself, I think just making sure, you know, kids have attachment styles too. And I was talking to my friend Shiloh,
they're said it too, they already have it.
Right. And I was like, I'm curious what the kid, like,
can you give them to kids? Because I want to do that.
I think if they're old enough, you ought to be able to answer, you know.
Oh man.
But I think it starts at a young age, like making sure your kid is secure with expressing their feelings and vulnerabilities. They're not scolded for crying. You know what I mean? Like, things like that kind of set the pace. So I'm hoping that I raised a strong woman.
You've learned a lot.
I've learned a lot.
Lots to share.
I certainly do, and maybe I'll have boys. But I remember getting into an argument with my boyfriend at the time because I said, if I have a son and he's bringing a bunch of different girls, I'm calling his ass out. Like, that's not happening. No, like, you're not going to be this, like, bringing a different girl home. And he's like, I would say something. And I'm like, absolutely.
I'd be like, who the fuck are you?
Right. Where did this
come
come
house,
from?
First of all.
Right, yeah, that you think that you can treat women disrespectfully because that's disrespectful.
My son is 13 and he's of that age where he likes to look up boobies and asses and shit like that. Now he doesn't really have access to that stuff because of it, but
he did the workaround. Remember I told you about? Didn't I tell you my friend's son put like bra with no.
Oh yeah, he can Google.
So that
he did that. He Googles like sexy images or something. Like he Googles it and gets stuff.
Gets around it.
They're smart.
Word triggers.
But I said to him, I was like, this is fine. I shoot nude models. I create nude art. I can't be a hypocrite and say nudity is bad. Nudity is not bad. But in a 12 or 13-year-old mind, I kept saying to him, I don't want this to be your representation of women as a sexualized version of women.
That is, see, so you make a good point there too, because I was reading something about talking about sex with your kids, and it says, one, like never make them feel guilty about asking questions. Use appropriate terms, penis, vagina.
Yeah, totally.
You know, don't be like, oh, my
the
cookie, you know, or whatever.
I do call the pussy a china to the girls, but that's just
they're
like
old enough
family
now,
word,
like,
I guess.
You know, but it's basically like don't set it to where sex is such a taboo topic, because I think that leads them to probably their demise later in life when they become adults in their sexual experiences. But like you said, like
it can't just be
he's a kid and he has hormones, like
what 13-year-old boy doesn't want to look at titties?
Right.
Unless you're a gay boy and you want to know.
I mean, and they're never going to stop wanting to look at titties. Like that's a lifetime.
And I was like, all right, cool. You like tits, nice and awesome. I'm so happy for you. But
I like that you set the tone though. That this, because I think that's the problem with social media now.
They sexualize it.
Right. Well, or this is the way women are supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And then I go to school
everywhere,
and I'm like, these girls don't look like that.
It's everywhere.
I watched, my friend sent a video on TikTok of a girl who was posing for an athletic ad, and they were stuffing her pants with these butt pads.
Really?
And I'm like, no wonder why all these women on Instagram look like they have these amazing asses.
Well, they're all getting Brazilian butt lifts.
I do like 500 squats a week. I mean, like I feel like I have a decent ass, but I don't have a Kim Kardashian ass. Like, you know what I mean?
Most of them are.
But the Brazilian butt lift is a huge thing now.
I've seen a lot of girls getting this. But it's not just the butt lift. They get like lipoed in their waist.
So it looks super... Like Kim Kardashian, like that...
They
can't be built like that naturally.
No, and it's...
Her waist is literally like, I think, 24
out.
inches, and her ass is like 45 inches.
I've been working out now for many years in the gym. I lift weights at least 4 days a week, and I'm a pretty active person. I'm not going to change my entire body shape to that significant of a change. You just can't. That's not
for them.
We can be real about it, and it is what it is. Do what you want with your body, but let's be realistic about what is and what isn't. Let's just call it what it is and not have girls growing up thinking that they can achieve that with just going to the gym every day.
Right.
Because then they end up hating themselves when they can't.
Right, yeah, because some of it is genetically blessed.
Some are.
Some are. I know girls that are genetically blessed.
Girls that are goddamn.
Yeah, Brazilian women too. Like,
goddamn.
Yeah. So that's for sure, but yeah, just teaching them to love their body.
Yeah.
I'm just banking on the fact that I have big boobs, and I hope that carries me for
Bring them titties with you. All of them.
And I'm a redhead, so I'm already a fetish, so.
You are. People. We had to learn that early on. Like, you're a fetish.
I know. I never thought about that until you mentioned it. I was like, oh my god, you're right. Maybe that's why. I said that, and we'll probably wrap it up here. I was talking to a friend. I end on this very sad note. Not that I think I'm like this like hot whatever, like dream girl, but I'm like, maybe I'm just the girl that guys want to have sex with, but they don't want to be with. I'm a redhead, I have big boobs, can have full lips, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I think
that's a sad thought though. It's like,
but I don't think...
Do they only want me for sex and nobody values that I think I'm smart and I'm successful and I have a lot going for me, like, I think I'm funny.
I don't think it's just that, it's just the wrong
But you know what I mean? That's like, that was my thought, is like, it was because I was looking up all these guys I dated and their current girlfriends, and they're ugly. Sorry, that's mean. I might edit that out. I'm not editing it out.
Don't edit it out.
I know that's mean, but it's fucking true. Like, one looks like a tranny. I'm sorry.
Well, my opinion on that is that
show you these when
people can have sex with anybody, whether they're attracted to them or not. They don't necessarily want to have a life with those people.
I know, but maybe I'm not bringing anything to the table that they want to have a life with me.
I don't think that's true. It's just not the right people.
I know. But
you date businessmen. Why don't you date like an artist?
I don't think they'd like me.
Maybe that's your fictitious mind telling you that.
I think if they were to meet me, they'd be like, this bitch is like straight lace. Like,
there are men out there I know that are in love with some dude's like some Nordic man out there who has a fucking flute.
That's my future husband, a Nordic man with a flute. He plays the flute.
Well, you date a lot of businessmen. I wouldn't, because I think that they're all fucked up.
I'm trying to think if I've dated an artist.
Businessmen are fucked up. They're like they're like small dick, big truck kind of guys. Big wallet, no soul. There's so many different kinds of people in the world.
That's a very good point. I don't know if I've ever, still trying to think here. I've gone out on dates with like musicians
because you're
and stuff, and
open-minded.
I felt like they were probably like, I'm not like.
You're open-minded, you're creative, you're expanding your world. Maybe
I need to start coming to more art shows.
Yeah.
Or, death metal
shows. They love a good redhead.
All right. On that note, you know where you'll find me. No, but thank you
At
guys.
a metal show.
Yeah. Thank you guys again. Happy anniversary to Femme Fables. I've actually been touring with renaming it next year.
Ooh, I like that. What?
Like Meg on the mic. Like just like something.
That's cool.
Very.
Well, that's cool because it could be a series because it was the fables of the stories
Yeah.
and then like evolve it to something.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
we might rebrand in 2022, but yeah, stay tuned. Our next episode is going to be kind of forgiveness and resetting going into the new year. So stay tuned for that. That will be our last episode for the year. I'm taking some time off, enjoy the holidays, get off social media probably, and just detox mentally.
I think I'm going to do that too for a couple months.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that till the new year.
A couple months.
So. But thank you guys again for all of your support. Thanks to my friends, family, Deidra, everybody who's been on this podcast to help make it something. I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it. And we will see you on the next and the last one of the year. Bye.
Bye.